Hey everyone. So we have been getting a lot of requests on strategies on how to go about learning embedded systems. So what we're going to do as part of this series is essentially guide you on, what are the important topics, what are the important, so to speak, areas that you should be covering and how to go about covering them. And not only that, but as a side effect of all of this, would be that you'll be able to have technical conversations with your peers, seniors, and kind of navigate the embedded systems field in a very oriented way. So my name is Piyush, and I have with me Mohammed, who will kind of guide us through.
Yes.
So as part of this video, at least, we're going to take a look at the bird's eye view of what the embedded systems field is, what topics to look at, and how you should be going ahead and consuming the topics. So yeah, go ahead, Mohammed,
Yeah.
enlighten us.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Piyush. I think before we even start there, I think I want to talk about this format a little bit of why we have two people, talking about one topic instead of the classical, format where you can just go on a whiteboard and kind of draw things out and explain. I think what we feel is that the conversation, first of all, naturally flows when you are interacting with someone rather than just, sort of giving out the predefined format sorry, giving out the info in a predefined format. So interaction for me and for us, I think, works really best. Secondly, I think this is the key point where, if someone is sort of giving out an info, the second person can play a role of an inquisitive child, so to speak, where they ask questions as to why this is like this, why this is like that. And that way, I think it's more or less playing the role of an audience who are looking at the topic for the first time, let's say, and they might have a lot of questions. The
Right.
second person can ask such questions on their behalf and get the inquisitive juices flowing. And I think that that format personally for me has really paid dividends throughout. We have prepared for sort of topics throughout our career. Obviously you learn topics every day, and this, personally speaking, brainstorming with other person has really helped me a lot. So my hope is that this format will really benefit all of our viewers as well. So yeah, it's with that in mind, let's sort of
Right.
lay out a plan of what this playlist and the series is going to look like. So bird's eye view, I think, for an embedded system, I would say three topics. If you're just starting out your journey here, three topics are really very important. One would be language, where you can instruct your computer to do things. A computer here could be any chip where you run your code. So language to sort of control. And here, generally, the choice is C language, just because it's very close to hardware. You can play
Right.
around things very well in C. And once you sort of not even master, once you just sort of get used to it, I think it comes very naturally in C language. The
Would you say, and I'm just kind of
Yeah,
wanting to play the role now. So
yeah.
would you say that the basics of C language are good enough in terms of
I
getting
would,
off the
yeah,
ground?
yeah, yeah. And here, even if you want to peel that layer just a little bit, just acquainting ourselves with the keywords, the programming constructs like, loops, if
Mm-hmm.
conditions, and
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of pointers.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. A
That's
little
all.
bit of pointers. I think
Mm-hmm.
that would go a long way. That
Hmm.
just that much is, I think, enough to get us started in the world of embedded systems, I would say. Yeah.
Right.
So I think I'll sort of refrain myself into going into
Details
too
right
deep
now.
in,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we'll have like future videos covering the details.
Right.
Coming back to the main 3 points, the second one, personally to me, is a little bit of OS constructs. So what I mean by this is, you'll kind of allow me to paint a picture a little bit. Learning C language gives us, ability to sort of do one as, like, let's say we have a requirement of achieving certain things. learning C language would allow us to do certain things independently of each other. In the sense, let's say I
Yeah.
want to write a way to control, let's say, microwave oven's timer. Just a very crude
Hmm.
example from the top of my mind. So if you have the ability to write some code in C language, then you can write this piece of code which allows us to program the microwave for certain amount of time. And let's say you have another task to sort of emergency stop on a microwave. Again, a
Hmm.
very crude example where someone presses a button, you just want to immediately shut down the microwave. Now this is
Hmm.
again another independent task. You can again achieve it in C language, right?
Hmm.
But now in actually making a product, you want all of these functionalities sort of coexisting together in a symphony, right?
Hmm.
And that is where understanding of OS constructs really help. So
Hmm.
that is where, if you are aware, threads, multi-threading, the sort of synchronization primitives of semaphores, mutexes, all of this will sort of serve as a tool to help
Hmm.
two different things exist, coexist, and sort of work
Work
in a
together.
harmony. Yeah.
Right. Right. So would you say then this essentially helps implement something called the state machines?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that's a very
Right.
good way to put it. So state machine generally is that based on certain inputs, based on what was the last state, you want your
Right.
machine to behave in a certain way, and it's
Right.
all predetermined.
Right.
And OS constructs, and along with the C, so
Hmm.
we can imagine C language gives us an ability to code what would happen in each state,
Right.
and OS constructs sort of help you navigate between different states. So they
Right.
allow you to jump or change the states. I hope I
Right.
was able to sort of paint
Yeah, I
the
think
picture.
let me also help and paint
Hmm,
that
hmm,
picture a little more
hmm, hmm,
deeply
hmm.
then. So C can be used to kind of create tasks, right?
Right,
And
right.
one task kind of, let's say, wants to talk to another task.
Hmm.
So you need an infrastructure around it, like
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
events being passed,
hmm, hmm,
some
hmm, hmm.
lists, some queues, some scheduling, right? Other task needs to be scheduled. So all of that is essentially, operating system.
Right,
So you
right.
have C for the main functionality, while operating system is giving you that playground where different tasks can work with each other, different agents can
Hmm,
work with
hmm,
each
hmm,
other
hmm.
to achieve the final outcome.
Final output. Yeah, that's precisely what I wanted to say. That's
Right.
amazing, and thanks for sort of summarizing it. And okay,
Sure.
so these are the two,
Hmm.
sort of gradually in an increasing order, we should sort of wrap our heads around when we are starting
Mhm.
our journey. And I think the third most important one is sort of learning any one of the microarchitecture for any one of the sort of, let's not go into the microarchitecture, but any one of the architecture out there. It could be
Okay.
ARM A, RISC 5, even x86. And the reason, yeah, maybe I'll give you some time to sort of list down
Right.
these.
So it was ARM A,
A, M,
ARM M, RISC 5,
RISC 5,
or x86 is
x86,
also.
or there are MIPS and other as
Yeah.
well, but they are not very commonly sort of
Right.
used.
But I suppose anyone is good
Anyone.
enough
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
I suppose where you're going with this is
Hmm.
that this gives you an idea about how the CPU is running everything,
Right,
how the
precisely,
CPU works.
precisely. Ultimately, what would happen is once we are familiar with first and the second points, we actually need some chip to run our code, right? That's where we'll say our solution is
Hmm.
entirely complete. And
Yeah.
in order, and now that we are working at a very bare bone level, just starting
Hmm.
out with embedded, I think it's very essential that we know of just one, to start off with just one architecture, and
Hmm.
not even in very good amount of detail, just the basics where we know how a core of that architecture boots, the boot flow,
Right.
essentially, and how the interrupts are handled. So that's like in computer architecture terms, that's called exception model or interrupt model. And
Right.
what sort of memory the CPU interacts with, caching, and all of that. So just those pieces, if we are aware of it, and how do we sort of control it via our code, I think that would
Hmm.
be really good enough to get us started.
Right.
And throughout this playlist, I think my and Piyush's goal would be to sort of deep dive, sorry, into each of these topics and just give us enough info to get us started and complete a very small hobby project where we
Right,
can just achieve things with these three things, these
right,
three key points in mind. Yeah.
right. So our hope then is that we give enough insights that
Hmm.
we know of about
Yeah.
COS and CPU and
Yeah.
guide towards a project,
Project. Yeah. Precisely.
and that people can try out and
Hmm.
use to learn more about these
Hmm.
topics.
Hmm. Hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so I think as an introduction, this sets the stage
Hmm.
as to where we are starting and where
Hmm.
we are heading. The idea is that someone who doesn't know any of these right now can start to scratch the surface based on kind of the roadmap or
Right.
based on the videos
Hmm.
we lay out. And then we'll head towards the project, and hopefully, the project convinces people
Yeah. Yeah.
as to they started with not knowing what embedded software is, let's say,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then towards the end they are able to kind of pave their own path and
Hmm.
master
Hmm.
it.
Right.
Cool. So I think we can conclude this one right now and
Yes.
head towards talking about each of these in a little more detail.
Return more data. Yeah. I think that would be a very good segue into the next
Right,
video where we just
right,
zoom in a little bit and talk
right.
about each of these main macro level topics. And also,
Correct.
I'd like to add that throughout, this preparation, we are sort of we'll definitely have notes taken by us in order to sort of guide ourselves as to what do we talk about. And I would also like to publish those raw notes just so if people want to sort of look at it and get a feeling of a topics in a little more detail.
Right. Right. All right. So I think
Cool.
with this, we'll see you guys in the
Yeah.
next one.
Next one. Okay. Have a good day. Bye.